Gamers have always wanted to make mods of games they love, whether or not there are tools available. Some mods have genuine passion behind them, allowing the mods to be comparable to the base game or give a unique experience lacking in the original. Some such mods include Midian XL for Diablo 2, or the myriad of mods available for Skyrim. Today, however, the topic is Warcraft 3, its mapmakers, the work some have put in and continue to put into their projects. The original Warcraft 3 mapmaking tool has been modified heavily by the community. Websites like the Hive Workshop allow one to download a myriad of tools that assist with complicated scripting. RPG maps now tout talent systems, large inventories, and character statistics not present in the base game, such as critical hits, hit chance, and threat. To some extent, it is hard to compare these maps to their older brethren due to the advances mapmakers have made. Yet there are designers who use the engine's restrictions to create interesting maps with design hooks to keep players coming back. This is not to say that they are superior to newer maps, but that their design is interesting enough to warrant discussion. These three maps in particular are favorites of mine that consumed many hours of my life as a teen. I felt it necessary to look back to see if I was a poor, impressionable moron, probably true, or if there were design hooks that made the experience enjoyable. The first map for discussion today is a map that existed early in the lifespan of Frozen Throne, a map called Final Fantasy Open RPG. Sadly enough, this map had a shorter development cycle than most RPGs, as the developer called it quits on, I believe, version 4.1. Some players have since unlocked the map creating new versions, thus muddying which was the last version to be developed. If one sat down to play this map today, updates by Blizzard to the Warcraft 3 map editor have caused a myriad of bugs and glitches such as permanent stun and potential issues in looting triggers. The reason I wish to discuss this map is due to the interesting way the designer handled inventory limitations. Inventory became a key focus of the map through the classing system taken from the Final Fantasy series. Each hero could collect materia restricted by their name. Upon using a class materia, the player's level was wiped and they started out afresh as a new hero. Each class could level to obtain passives in the form of items. This allowed a player to combine and mix and match classes at their leisure. The restriction for this mechanic was tied into the inventory system. Back then, most maps were designed around players obtaining 6 pieces of passive equipment or items ripped from Dota. Even when looking at this design from the perspective of today, it had an intricate nature that most designers rarely touch on. The player has the ability to level multiple classes, taking aspects of each one while balancing this against equipment and spells, as spells used inventory slots as well. Whether this was an accident or not, if this design was to be taken outside of the Warcraft 3 engine, given an original theme, interesting player choices and mechanics could result. Next up, a personal favorite of mine, the Black Road, a map that came out in the middle of Frozen Throne's lifespan, whose developer has left for greener pastures. Currently sitting at version 1.36b2, the Black Road is still in a playable state with an active community looking to update it further. This map touts clean design with a clear progression difficulty curve. Players can choose from multiple heroes of each archetype, DPS, healers, or tanks. A hero will fight through 8 main bosses, 1 final boss, and a dozen optional bosses. Upon defeating a main boss called a Titan, the player is informed that they must progress to the next in line, which leads them through a higher level area intended for the player to stay in to grind avatar strength. While not sounding outwardly exciting, this is a method of positive reinforcement commonly placed in RPGs. It is the concept of grinding avatar levels over a prolonged period of time. Games that do this correctly allow the player to feel as if they've contributed alongside their character, that personal skill was also involved in the end result. For the Black Road to achieve this feeling, it does this through several aspects. Firstly, through items and augmenting statistics. By having a varied inventory pool of both defensive and offensive options, players learn quickly and develop paths to shorten the time necessary to challenge the next boss. Whether it be collecting specific loot from a boss, collecting tomes that augment base statistics, or simply killing basic enemies, the player has options as to which task will grant them success faster. Next up is the boss mechanics themselves. Each boss has a gimmick which the player must overcome. Whether it be not standing on fire, a DPS race, or positioning, there will be a different set of requirements through equipment and statistics to beat each boss. By not having bosses impart themselves through statistics, players can adjust their playstyles according to each encounter. Through both inventory and the unique nature of bosses themselves, players are encouraged to find both their character's end goals and how to best approach each boss as fast as possible. This map is not unique in how it approaches the RPG genre, but in how well it does so. Very few bosses outstay their welcome, and progression stays consistent throughout the experience. The designer knew how to reward players, enticing them to continue playing. Lastly, there is Sunken City, a map that came out not long after the Black Road yet is still in development. A time-attack dungeon crawling experience with limited lives. Players must proceed through a labyrinth-like temple, exploring optional areas for loot, defeating bosses, all the while racing that ever-present timer. The map is full of useful little tools such as healing items, wards, and currency hidden in the darkest of corners. There is contrast present where players are enticed to attempt clearing the dungeon as fast as possible. By doing so, they pass up advantages every step of the way. By encouraging players to explore, this map creates a tension with its time limit and life counter, reinforcing players to plan every action should they wish to be efficient and live. The heroes themselves surpass many counterparts in mechanical depth. Most come with unique resources, rotations, and skill interactions such as consuming debuffs on opponents to gain temporary effects. Along with making the heroes themselves interesting, the map sports a hefty crafting system allowing in-depth customization. One aspect of how the time limit and life counter interacts with the hero's inventory is that the player will be encouraged to adjust their inventory and make sacrifices. By getting cheaper equipment, earlier bosses may become less risky, while alternatively saving assists with later bosses. Each mechanic, the time limit, the life counter, and the very nature of each hero works well together in the overall design. Neither mechanic detracting from the other, emphasizing and encouraging the player to make tough decisions. If there is a detracting element present within the map, it is the lack of permanency. Due to the removal of focus on avatar strength and time played, instead moving towards completing the level, a connection to the character is removed, as the player is not selecting an avatar to represent them, but who best to complete the task. This is compounded by the static nature of the map. While this is most likely due to the limitations of the Warcraft 3 engine, once the map has been completed, the focus changes to finding the most efficient path and composition. This lowers replayability due to the possibility of beating the map in one session. Yet permanency would conflict with the overall design, corrupting the experience. In my opinion, if this map were taken outside of the engine, given randomization, roguelike elements, or in general some way to give the player further incentive to replay the map, the experience would increase tenfold. While many maps were not covered, these stand out to me due to the designer's ability to understand risk versus reward, player encouragement, and player choice, with some design decisions seen rarely in games such as the multi-classing dynamic and resource pools. To some extent, developers could learn lessons from the effort these designers have put in and their ability to envision their ideas.